This is a movie review for Shenmue the movie. Spoilers. The movie begins with a girl and a little boy at a park, and two bullies harass them, and one of them makes implications of rape. And then the main character from the games, Ryu, comes over here and he beats the fuck out of them. So Ryu goes to his village where he discovers there's an old lady on the floor, and she tells him something's wrong with his father's dojo. So he runs to his father's dojo, and then one of his father's assistants or something gets kicked out the door, and then Ryo sees Lamdi. Lamdi is the Hamdi Samdi villain from Quan Chi's village, Ham Chi. No, I'm lying. Actually, he's just a villain from this movie, and he's here to kick ass and steal a phoenix mirror from Ryo's dad before he kicks his ass and Ryo's ass. Ryo's father gets his ass kicked so hard that he fucking dies.
No. Father! No!
Ryo returns to the neighborhood and he starts asking people questions about the vehicle that was parked outside his father's dojo, which leads him eventually to a jazz bar. After beating the guy he wants answers from in a round of pool, he's told to go to the Heartbeats bar where there's gonna be broke sailors. Ryo then goes down an alley where he's confronted by two fucking drunks and he kicks their ass in some garbage. Then he enters the Heartbeats bar and is served milk by the bartender. And he's like, "Here you go! Nice milk for a schoolboy!" Schoolboy Q then asks the bartender, "Hey, have you seen any sailors?" And then two seamen, I guess, attack him. And then the bartender's like, alright. You never come in here again. And here's some information. Go look for a guy named Charlie. After the bartender says Charlie, it zooms in on Ryo's face and he's like, Charlie? Like as if he fucking known that guy before. And then he goes to a tattoo parlor and he's like, who's Charlie? Where's Charlie? Then he opens a curtain and then Charlie starts trying to stab him. And then he's like, where's the cartel? And then he's like, I don't know. And then he walks away like nothing happened. Ryo then runs into the girl that was getting harassed by the two bullies in the beginning of the movie, and her name is Mazomi. And she's like, my friend told me that you're around here. And he's like, get out of here. And then she's like, okay, see you later. Literally, you came all the way down to a dangerous area for nothing. Ryo ends up waking up to a letter being handed to him by, I don't know, that lady he saw on the floor earlier. He's like, this is mailed to your father. And then he goes around the city looking for somebody to translate it. And someone translated it and it says, beware of anyone who seeks the mirror. I'm Mr. Chen. And he calls a number. He's like, I got a letter from Cheng Wang Zhao. And then he's like, oops. And then he hangs up the phone. He says, Warehouse 8. On his way to Warehouse 8, Ryo ends up seeing Okuyasu and Josuke threatening Koichi's life. These are the two bullies we've seen in the beginning of the movie, though those aren't really their names. And he kicks the shit out of them, and then he gives Ryo directions to Warehouse 8. Upon reaching Warehouse 8, Ryu is confronted by La Le Le La Lu and Mr. Chen. And he tells them, go to your house, there's another mirror in there, but this one has a bird on it. Upon reaching his house, Ryu gets a call from Mizomi, who threatens to suck his dick mad hard in a park. And he's like, alright, bet. So he goes to the park, and she's like, I've been wanting to suck your dick mad long, but I've been wanting to suck your heart dick. And he's like, bitch, I know, go home. Later on, Ryu goes to this old man's house, and he's like, Ryu, I heard what happened to your father. He asked me to hold this for you. And he's like, hold what? And he's like, these nuts. Ha! Got he! And he gives him the ancient bottle opener. It's been handed down to all kids from his clan once they reach 18. And then he goes to his father's dojo and he puts that shit in the wall and he stabs the wall with a sword and then he turns it and then the door opens and then he has to do mad shit just to find a box. And the box has the fucking mirror with the bird on it. You can't even call that a mirror because you can't even shine that shit up and see your face in it. That shit just looks like a jade bird coin. Rio then goes to that old lady's house that translated his letter, and he's like, "Do you know about this?" And then she's like, "Ooh, what's this?" And he's like, "It's the Phoenix mirror." And she's like, "It doesn't reflect, and it doesn't look like any other mirror I ever seen before." Let me start talking about the stars, and I'm gonna tell you things you already know about the Phoenix. It's a legendary bird. And he's like, shut up, and he leaves. And then he sees an old man in a park crying. Rio walks up to the man, who seems to be drinking alcohol out of my cup. No, I'm not saying it's my cup. I'm saying the cup says my cup on it for some reason. And he's like, "I knew your father. This was fate. Let me teach you a move." And then he starts teaching him a fighting move. Meanwhile, there's a retarded guy looking at him like, Landy! And then he runs away. Ryu then goes to Warehouse 8, where he's talking to something Wang and Mr. Jackie Chan. And then the retarded guy wearing the purple shirt, he's like jumping down trying to get the mirror, and he's stopped. And then he's like, "I won't forget how you press the button." And he jumps out the window. And then Mr. Chen's like, "You shouldn't waste your life on revenge." And I'm just thinking, motherfucker, was it your dad that was killed? I don't think so. Shut the fuck up. And then Rio's like, "I gotta get to Hong Kong." Rio then goes to a travel agency to get to Hong Kong, where this bitch ass lady behind the desk won't stop being a bitch. And then he's like, look at that price tag. So he decides to go to the docks and get a job, where Josuke decides to help him out get a job. As Rio finishes up with his forklifting duties, he enters the hangar where 3 people spawn in and try to extort him. He fucks them up and he's like, "Hey, you two," even though there's 3 of them. Later that day, Mizomi and Rio hang out in the park where she gives him the biggest fucking sloppiest blowjob ever. And then she's like, "I wish I could have done this for your birthday." Rio heads to the docks where he sees a man getting beaten up by some of the Mad Angels. And the man thanks him and calls him Drio. Dorito ends up completing his tasks at the dock, and the dock workers start harassing him, and they threaten to kick his ass, and he fucks him up as usual. And then one of the dock workers he interrogates, and he's like, "They're in warehouse 17, the back." And he's like, "You lying?" And he's like, "Go see for yourself." A little while later, Chung Wang ends up teaching him a new move, and he's like, "I'm gonna teach you how to swallow." After that, he sees one of the bullies, Josuke, on the floor. He's like, "You know who did this?" And then, Rio sees a sailor. He's like, "Hey, come over here, schoolboy Q." Then, of course, Rio beats up a whole fucking room full of guys. After all that bullshit, Rio gets a call from the retarded guy. He's like, "I got Mizomi. She's spreading ass cheeks right now. Come behind Warehouse 17." And then Rio's like, "Oh, hell no." Rio beats up mad guys before one of the guys holding Mizomi captive throws Mizomi to him, and he checks her ass before taking her handcuffs off. After kicking a certain number of guys' ass, Terry comes out and he's like, "I want to make a deal. How about you make sure that Chen stays out of my way?" And then Rio's like, Whoa. I got a deal for you, motherfucker. You show me Lan D." He's like, "Lan D? Lan D's nuts." And then, of course, they spend like 2 minutes showing a driving sequence of Ryu driving fucking Mizomi home. What the fuck was she doing out there anyway? But you saw the purple guy. Rio's like, hey, I don't want to fight Chen. I want to fight you, Cuisinart. And then the man with the suit, Cuisinart, he's like, oh, you know what? I don't know what the fuck this is, but we about to fight. And then he fights. And then Terry's like, hey. The fight ends with Gucci and Shenmue beating the fuck out of Terry. And then he's like, that's too bad. You should have already figured that Landy had already went on a boat and he left. And he's like, damn it. And then you see Landy on a boat. Then when Rio, he's about to go to Hong Kong, um, Goisher, he's like, hey, I gotta go with you because Chen really thinks that you need somebody to go with because, we gotta find Landy. And then the retarded guy comes by, he's like, blah, blah. Ryu then kills this man like he's Mugen in Samurai Champloo. And then before getting on the boat, uh, Chen and Guancher already fucked up his leg, so he's staying. And Guancher's like, I love you. And then Ryu's like, nah, I'm just thinking about that ass. And he starts thinking about Mazomi in a fucking mini skirt, upskirt style. You already know. I don't know what he's gonna be doing on that boat, but she. The movie ends with Rio thinking about the last time he fucked Mazomi before the boat departs. And then some woman's on a cliff with a bird. But we don't care about that. All in all, it wasn't a bad movie or anything of this sort. It's just that if you played the first game, then you don't need to watch the movie. But if you're just hopping into Shenmue 2, then I guess there's a good refresher course. But honestly, it felt too fucking short to be a game anyways. I felt like they cut out all the scenes of you doing bullshit. And it's like, wow, that's all you had in the game? That's it? And then the second one, every time I played the second one, I was always like, wait, wasn't this in the first game? As a supplementary DVD, I give it a 5 out of 10.